So guys, what is going on? I hope you guys are well. I hope you guys are staying safe. So guys, there's been a lot of speculation and a lot of people talking about Billy Joe after he's come out and done that interview. A lot of people have said that, he's made his money. He should probably now retire. Health is wealth, and he's made a lot of money. He lost to the best. There's no shame in that. I look at it from a different angle. Obviously, he said that he's going to decide, and if his dad says enough is enough, he's not going to continue. Billy Joe lost to the best in the world. There's no shame in that. There's no shame in losing to Canelo Alvarez. Canelo Alvarez is the best fighter in the world, in most people's eyes, the best fighter in the world right now, pound for pound. And Billy Joe's just lost to him. So is there any shame in him losing that fight? Absolutely not. He lost to the best out there, and most people lose to Canelo Alvarez. That's why he's only got one loss, and that was against one of the greatest ever in Mayweather. So to be honest with you, it's no shame in losing to someone like Canelo Alvarez. I do think he was probably hurt a little bit because he was doing a lot of talking, and I think that's why it took him a bit of time to come out. Obviously, he probably wanted some privacy. I actually thought that Billy Joe might go into hiding like Wilder, but it was quite good that he came out and gave an interview with TalkSport, because it shows a lot of a man's character, that he's willing to face the music, after a loss. Because sometimes guys like Billy Joe, Wilder, these guys have big egos and they talk themselves up, and then when they take that loss, it's hard for them to get over it, or how they react. Usually some fighters, how they react is they go into hiding for long periods of time, like Wilder, for example. Wilder went, after that loss, he went into hiding, like, he basically disappeared for a very, very long time, because I don't think he could come to terms with the loss. And I thought Billy Joe would be the same because of the things that he was saying, and the way the fight ended as well. I thought I thought that I won't be surprised if we don't see this guy interviewing for a very, very long time and he goes missing. But actually, very good of Billy Joe that it was about a month after, because when did the fight happen? The fight happened May, and we're now in June, so about 5-6 weeks after he's come out and give, which is he obviously had a broken eye socket, so you need him time to heal. He had an operation, whatever. He needed time with his family away, and he wanted to probably be away from the cameras, and you can expect that. But 5-6 weeks he's come out and given an interview, and obviously he's said that he's considering retirement. And he explained the situation, what happened around the Canelo fight, the fact that he didn't quit. He wanted to go on, but his corner pulled him out because they were looking out for his best interest, which is obviously was to pull him out, because he had a broken eye socket, and you can't go on with that. Let's be honest, you can't go on with something like that when you got Canelo at the other end, looking to do serious damage. And also because of the fact, the things that Billy Joe was said prior to the fight, I think Canelo wanted to really put it on him as well. So I think they did the right thing in pulling him out. Billy Joe, fought he had a good effort. He fought a good fight. He fell short against one of the best. There's no shame in that. A lot of people are asking, so what next? Should Billy Joe retire? Should Billy Joe continue? That's entirely up to him and how he feels. Obviously, only he knows how he feels. Only he knows how that eye is going to hold up, because, like I said, when you get injuries like that, how many fighters do you know that when they suffer injuries like that, they're able to come back and compete and be successful at top level? When they suffer a very serious injury, and when suffering an eye socket injury is a very serious injury. I can't think of many fighters that have had serious injuries where, they're major injuries like an eye socket, where they can come back and have a great career at championship level. It's very difficult when you suffer a serious injury. And for me, this is a serious injury. This isn't a small injury. When you suffer an eye socket injury, that's serious. So for me, I don't know where Billy Joe really goes from here in terms of competing at championship level. I do think, though, if he is able to get back physically and the eye socket's not an issue, it's not an issue in terms of, and he'll know that going into sparring and stuff. But then having said that, Kell Brook thought that after the Golovkin fight. Kell Brook said, I've been hit on that eye in sparring, I know I'm okay, but then the other eye socket went. So surely there was some kind of issue. So it's completely different when you're practicing and when you're in the fight, because when you're in the fight, there's no head guards on. It's completely different. Guys aren't going at 50%, they're going at 100% because they want to win this championship level. People want to, move forward in their careers. They're not taking it easy in sparring. Again, you know, we don't know how hard they're going in sparring. And one thing that I know about the Kell Brook Ingle camp is that they don't normally do face sparring. They normally, or head sparring. They normally do body sparring. So I don't know. I'm pretty sure Kell Brook got hit there, because I remember him. Was he training with Liam Smith? I don't know. That might have been prior to him fighting Golovkin. But anyway, I'm pretty sure Kell Brook, before he fought Errol Spence, got hit on that eye in sparring, because they probably wanted to test how that eye is. And obviously they probably thought it'll be fine, but it wasn't in the fight. You know, Errol Spence ended up breaking the other eye socket. And I know a lot of people say, well, he didn't break that eye socket, he broke the other eye socket, but I'm pretty sure there was something connected. I think these are completely separate entities. Like, if one eye socket broken, I'm pretty sure they had, when they operated, it would affect the other eye. I'm pretty sure all these things are interlinked. You know, I'm not a doctor, so I can't say for sure, but I'm pretty sure all of these things, it's not a coincidence that they fixed the one eye socket and the other eye socket broke. I'm pretty sure the whole face became brittle and vulnerable at that point. So can Billy Joe come back? I'm not sure. Only he knows that. But there are fights out there for him. There are winnable fights out there for him against Eubank and against Andrade. See, when you suffer an injury like this, I do think matchmaking becomes important, because you don't want to be going in there with a massive puncher, do you? That has a great chance of breaking. Now, you don't have to exactly be in there with a big puncher for somebody to break your eye socket or to damage your eye socket. It just needs to hit in the right place, really. But you don't want to be going in there with a massive puncher where there's a great chance that it would, you know, break. But anyway, I think fights with like Eubank would make a lot of sense, because I think it's a big fight. I think financially it would make a lot of money for him. And I don't think Billy Joe would want to come and fight if it doesn't make financial sense. I think he's looking for big fights, especially when you've made 7-8 million against Canelo. You're not going to want to come back for pittance. You're going to want to come back for serious money, and you're going to want to come back in big fights, because I'm pretty sure Billy Joe is somebody that wants the big fights now, and Eubank will be a big fight. Now, it's got quite nasty between Eubank and Billy Joe. They don't like each other, and it's serious beef. Now, I don't know where it's got to the stage where there's so much bitterness that they actually don't want to they're actually going to struggle to make the fight, just like it was with Khan and Brook, where I think there was so much hatred and bitterness there that it was actually hard to make the fight. I don't know whether it's going to be the same here. I do think that's a logical fight. I think that's a massive fight, because there's a lot of needle between the two. It's a big fight. It's a big fight. It makes a lot of money for both guys. And both guys really need that fight at this stage in their career, because I think the winner of that fight can go really push on and propel for a world title, and maybe go back to I think it's a kind of a fight where, firstly, Billy Joe will get to know where he's at, because a lot of people would pick him to win if he's fully fit to beat Eubank. And it gives Eubank an opportunity to avenge his loss and actually push himself, because Billy Joe's a two-weight world champion. Gives him the opportunity to avenge that loss and then push on for world honors as well. Now, I know that Eubank is in negotiations with a fight with Demetrius Andrade. If that fight comes off and if that fight comes off and Eubank was to lose, I don't know whether Billy Joe would have any interest. If he wins that fight against Andrade, wow, then obviously Eubank will become a middleweight champion, and then Billy Joe, I'm pretty certain, would be interested in that fight, because it would be a huge fight, and it would be for a world title. You'd be looking at a fight that probably sells out a stadium, and also a fight that will probably make Billy Joe a lot of money. Now, is it going to be a lot of money? I don't know. When I'm saying a lot of money, what maybe it depends on what Billy Joe thinks is a lot of money. 3-4 million, I'm pretty sure that's a lot of money. That I'm pretty sure the fight could probably make that. Especially if Eubank is able to win a world title. I think without a world title, I don't think there'll be the same kind of interest. I don't think it'll be as big. I don't think it'll be as financially lucrative as if it was for a world title. So, for me personally, I think if Eubank can pull that fight off against Andrade, which, by the way, he's an underdog in, and, you know, he's be expected to lose, and Andrade also has a style which is not great for Eubank. If he was to pull that off, though, then the Billy Joe and Eubank fight becomes so big, and so hard to ignore. Now, again, it will become difficult to make, because if Eubank wins a world title, you can imagine his ego going through the roof, and he'll probably say, I'll give him 10% or 20%, and then the fight just doesn't get made. But if everyone's sensible, I actually think that fight can be made, and I actually think that would be a big fight. I think that would be a big fight. So yeah, I hope that Billy Joe doesn't retire, and we do get to see a Eubank fight. But again, health is wealth, and if Billy Joe feels that, you know, he can no longer continue because of his eye socket, then, you know, he's had a good career. He's a 2-weight world champion. He's got one loss, and he lost to Canelo Alvarez. There's no shame in that. There's no shame in losing to Canelo. Canelo's the best in the world. You know, like I said, the best pound before at the start of the video, he's the best pound for pound fighter, and most people rank him the best fighter in the world. So is there any shame in losing to Canelo? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. He lost to the best. But yeah, guys, I want to now move on to my second part. I want to talk about Alexander Povetkin for a few minutes. Alexander Povetkin has retired from the sport of boxing. What a great fighter he is. You know, he's had a great career. Olympic gold medalist, former world champion. I believe he held the WBA. I don't think he was a super champion. He held the interim belt, but he was a former world champion, Olympic gold medalist. Had some great wins, got a great knockout reel. One of my favorite, very explosive fighter. You'd say in this era after Wilder, probably one of the most explosive punchers that can knock you cold with one punch. I actually think he was very, very explosive, and he had that kind of dynamite in his hands where, like I said, he could take you out with one punch, which not many fighters have. Not many fighters have across all weight classes. You know, when you think of Donna Stevenson, you think of Teofimo Lopez, you think of Deontay Wilder, and you think of Alexander Povetkin, where they can hit you with one shot. They're explosive. They hit you with one shot and they can knock you cold. And recently, his performance against Dillian Whyte was a perfect example of that. He wasn't doing great, and you know, he knocked Dillian Whyte cold with a massive uppercut. That was probably one of the best, sweetest uppercuts I've ever seen. However, I do think Povetkin's been on a decline for a very long time, and I think even when he fought Joshua, he was past his best. I actually thought even when he fought David Price, Povetkin was on the slide and he was past his best. He was old at that point, but he still was very good, and he still was very dangerous, as that Price fight showed. He knocked Price out cold. That's another one of his knockout highlight reels. And the Joshua fight kind of showed me all I needed to know, is that Povetkin was on the slide. Povetkin did well early on, and he did well against Joshua. Joshua was a bit circumspect, but he completely fatigued and completely tired out. I don't even think it was a lot. I don't even think, yeah, Joshua punches hard and he's explosive. Joshua, he can punch. But I don't think it was so much. I think it was the fact that Povetkin was just tired. And I think Joshua knew that this guy was going to tire late on. So he was trying to weather the storm early on. And he knew he was going to get Povetkin late on. And that's exactly what happened. Povetkin just couldn't keep up the pace. You know, and you always knew that he was going to tire. And then, you know, he had a few fights with Hughie Fury. He had fights with Michael Hunter where he didn't look great, to be honest with you. I wasn't that impressed with Povetkin. I thought he didn't look great. And like I said, he hasn't looked great since the Joshua fight. He's looked on the slide. The Hughie Fury fight for me wasn't great. The Michael Hunter fight wasn't great. And then he fought Dillian Whyte. And the first fight, let's be honest, wasn't great. He was getting knocked down. He looked bad. He looked vulnerable. He looked old. He looked like his punch resistance had gone. His legs had gone. And then he found the honey punch. He found Povetkin of old, that massive uppercut that just knocked Dillian out. And Povetkin, like I said, had that kind of power. He had that kind of explosive power that could wipe anybody out. But you could clearly see in that first fight that Povetkin was completely gone. Like, he wasn't there. He just landed a peach of a punch. But otherwise, Povetkin wasn't the same fighter. He was a shadow of himself. I actually think that Povetkin would have beat some of these guys quite comfortably in his prime, because he was a very explosive, very, very, very sharp fighter, and I think he was very, very good. Olympic gold medalist, that says all you need to know. But when he fought Dillian Whyte the second time, that was a sad sight. That was a sad sight. You basically saw a guy that was completely shot to bits. He was really bad in that fight. He just had no balance. He was getting wobbled all over the place, and Dillian Whyte was taking his time, and he was taking his time, and he was more calculated. and he just stopped Povetkin. But you could clearly see that Povetkin was completely shot. He just looked he was just getting wobbled all over the place. You know, I don't even know how his team allowed him. Like, I get it, it was a lot of money. So it's kind of like he's getting paid a huge amount of money. And they're thinking they've got a puncher's chance. But, you know, really, surely they would have seen in sparring that Povetkin's completely finished, because he was. I actually think that he took an unnecessary beating in that second fight. He didn't need to, because he could have retired. He also suffered, I think in between, he also suffered with COVID. And that's why the rematch got postponed. So I actually think they could have retired, and he could have retired on a high. But again, I get it. You know, the last fight would have, that was a pay-per-view fight. It would have paid him a lot of money, probably millions, in fact. So it made a lot of sense for Povetkin to take that fight, because it would be a good, like, retirement paycheck for him. Even though I'm pretty sure the first fight, and then Hunter and the Huey Fury fight, I'm pretty sure they paid him well. But obviously these were pay-per-view fights where he was headlining. And the first fight, he knocked Dillian White out. And then the second fight, it was another pay-per-view fight, which probably paid him millions. So it's kind of hard for him to kind of turn that away, you know. Even though I think Povetkin would have made decent money prior to the Dillian White fight. But again, it was a good, like I said, retirement paycheck to finish his career. But, you know, he's had a great career, man. He's had a great career. And like I said, a very exciting, very good fighter, very good, man, like, great fighter, man. Great fighter, very humble guy. And, you know, he's had a good career. He's had a good career. I wish, obviously, he failed a drugs test before the Wilder fight. I wish that fight could have gone through. I would have loved to see him fight Wilder in Russia as well. That would have been, and at that point as well, Povetkin was dangerous. So that would have been a tough fight for Wilder, a very tough fight for Wilder. You know, that would have been a great fight to see, But, you know, unfortunately, it didn't take place. And then after that, Wilder didn't fight Povetkin. That would have been a great matchup. But anyway, he's had a great career. He's done some great things. Olympic gold medalist, former world champion, and, you know, he can happily retire. You know, and I think the right decision was made. I think his team said after the fight that, I think his manager said that he's going to tell him to retire. And I think the right decision was made. I don't think they wanted to make the decision in the spur of the moment. But I think after thinking about it, sitting down with him, I think Povetkin's made the right decision. There's nowhere for him to really go. He didn't look great. And I think everybody after the fight was kind of unanimously agreed. Even Eddie Hearn said, I think he should retire. I think everybody after that fight was basically saying Povetkin should retire. So I think everyone unanimously agreed, and even his team was saying that, you know, I think that's it. So yeah, he's had a great career. It's been a great watching Povetkin, and I wish him all the best in retirement. Leave your thoughts, guys. Let me know what you think about the Billy Joe Saunders situation and Alexander Povetkin. And guys, I'll make sure to smash that like button. Make sure to follow all my social media, and I'll see you all in the next video. Peace.